Okay, so I wanted to do a bit of an explainer video for the latest version of Node Noggin, and just with some tips I thought might be useful, so you can have a play and use it in different scenarios. Obviously, as I've discussed in the other videos, it's really designed to be used in real time, co-located, so in the same place, but you can obviously use it remotely. But the idea is to sort of generate thoughts, feedback, comments, ideas anonymously in one space. So we've been using it quite a bit with the gamer students, and we're going to be using it for some workshops this week. So it's getting quite a bit of robust testing, which is nice, and hopefully I'm going to be able to gather quite a bit of feedback on how we might improve some of the processes. So the first thing you need to do obviously is visit alpha.nodenog.in, and that will take you to the alpha build. It is alpha, but we are not, we're not deleting any data, those kind of things. But again, it is alpha, so bear that in mind, that things will change, and lots of ideas are sort of are documented but not necessarily implemented yet, and may not get implemented for a while. Okay, so the first thing to understand is that you need to name yourself. Now, when you name yourself, this can be anything you want. For now, keep everything in lowercase and with no spaces and no numbers. This is what connects you to your nodes. So what we're looking at on screen here is a series of nodes that can be manipulated, and moved around. And this is how Node Noggin works. You manipulate these nodes, and then you can start to organize and pursue avenues of thinking. So the first thing to know is that what you call yourself here is what allows you to edit your nodes. So this is how you then can always come back to an existing microcosm and edit previous nodes if you've logged out. When I say logged out, there's no usernames, there's no passwords or any of that. It is basically a piece of local storage on your computer or your device that allows that association to the data. Yeah, all of the data is stored locally and then synchronized currently to a single cloud instance of CouchDB. So that's just something to bear in mind. The data isn't currently encrypted at the back end, but that is the plan, to have all the data encrypted so that it can't be viewed even by myself. At the moment, that data isn't encrypted, so bear that in mind. So I'm just going to type in a name here for this device, and I'm going to hit store. Okay, that has now named this device and allows me to then go into a microcosm and edit some nodes. So I'm going to just go into a new microcosm, but it could be an existing one. And again, keep this all lowercase, no spaces, no numbers for now. So let's call this October demo. I'm also going to create a microcosm called help. So you could visit that, and you can then see a series of nodes that will kind of talk through some of the bits and pieces and maybe include a video like this. But for now, I'm just going to go into this one called October Demo, and I'm going to hit create or rejoin. So in this instance, it's actually created it because it didn't exist before. There's a shortcuts node here, which is always shown until you hide it, and that's persistent. It will come back. At the moment, it doesn't remember whether you are happy with knowing the shortcuts or not. So I'm just going to move that out of the way for now. Okay, so what normally happens in a first workshop is that we're kind of trying to gather ideas really, really quickly around a common theme. And if you do that on this screen here, it can be quite confusing because the nodes sort of stack on top of each other. And although it's quite exciting if you're watching it from like kind of for example, the way that I've done it is that I will have this on the projection screen and have it on this view so that we can see those nodes sort of stacking up and appearing. But most people who are inputting to that actually like to just go into sort of like a bucket mode where they can just put their ideas in without the distraction of the visual interface or the spatial interface. So what I'd recommend is that, if you kick off your project, your workshop with a session looking at, researching color theory or sound design, and so the topic is like, I want you to go and find 3 or 4 things that are of interest to you in color theory, and they could go away and they can start to add these in here. That's best done in what's currently called the mobile view. Now I'll probably change that to be something else like bucket or list view or something, but if we go to mobile view, all we see is our nodes. So these are just the ones we create. We can't see any other people's nodes, even while they're being created. And so in here, we've got a very basic interface, which does need a little bit of work. But you can hit create node. It will create you a brand new node. You can type in your thoughts on, color theory, and that is automatically saved in your database and synchronized to any other devices that are connected to this microcosm. So if they're in the October one, they will see this. And if I jump to home, just to give you an idea, you can see that it's already been created. And you see the shortcuts thing has come back. Yeah. And again, you hit create node to create a brand new one and to type things into here. Okay. So then what tends to happen is that, a whole bunch of things are created and then we start to organize them. Now you can either do this collectively or, you get one person in your group starts to organize these into maybe clusters or thoughts that are connected. And so there's a few things you can do here. We can also format all of these nodes with Markdown. So if you know what Markdown is, you can use all Markdown formatting to adjust the text. And of course, you can use Markdown formatting to add images that are already on the web. So if we've got a URL, we can put those in as well. But what we can do here is obviously we can start to move these around and start to position them where we want. And when there's a lot of them, we can do lots of different things. So what I also tend to do is at this organization mode. So once we've collected all of our data, we start to organize it. I often will turn these into read mode, so you get it just without the extra text, and then you can make these things a bit smaller. Okay, so there we've got a couple in, and I'm just going to show you some other things, and then I will also join as another device so you can see the sort of other functionality for other users, the other people in your group. Obviously we can also hit down in this bottom toolbar. Again, some of these icons aren't necessarily as helpful as they should be. We can hit this little icon here, which will create a new node. So we can do that. I can also press the N key on the keyboard. We'll do the same thing. So long as I'm not editing another node, then I can do something else. Okay. I can also click on this little icon here, which is now in a pan and zoom mode. So if I click on that, you'll see that I can no longer discard the nodes. That's just makes it a bit helpful, because when you're grabbing on these now, you don't want it to pop into that mode. You don't want it to pop into discard. I mean, probably need to turn off the edit button as well. But now I can move around. So if I can't see anything, it might be that I'm just in the wrong position or my screen's quite small. The other thing I can do then is I can use the scroll wheel to zoom out and zoom in. If at any point I want to jump back to 100%, I can click this magnifying glass thing here and it will just recenter. And again, that's sort of based on screen size, but that should be pretty straightforward. You can, when you're zoomed out, go back to the move icon, which is this one here. You can also get to it by pressing the A or the S key, and you can move these around, but depends. It sort of is a bit where the mouse movement is not translated as well, so you'll see that I'm moving my mouse a lot more than the node moves, whereas if I'm at 100%, it's much easier to pick it up, and jiggle it around. So again, that's just something to bear in mind. Okay. So what I can also do though is I can, if I go back to this and just reorganize these a little bit, I can hit this fourth icon here, which is the connections mode. Again, I can press C on the keyboard to go into that mode. So, once you've got the keyboard shortcuts under your belt, you can be quite quick to create sort of your ideas and start to make connections. At this point, again, we'd see all this in real time if everyone else is connected. You can then drag out from these little buttons a connector, And if you connect two together, then it will make that connection between those nodes. If I move this now, what you'll see is that it just jumps to the top corner for that connection to appear, but you can see that that connection is now being shown. If multiple people make connections between these two, it doesn't do anything visually currently, but it will soon show a number of connections, so you could see whether there's a lot of people making a similar connected thought. Okay. Alright, let's do the last bit. This is a scribble mode. That only works on iPad devices and is not saved. So that is not a function that is currently is stored anywhere. So bear that in mind. And it won't function unless you've got a touch-based device. So that is a feature that may or may not continue. We'll wait and see. As I said before, you can obviously paste in markdown text, and that could include images. And so if you use the right formatting, you can obviously do that. We do currently have the ability actually to upload media. The default is set to upload it and get it back as markdown for an image, but actually you could upload anything. Now these are putting them into IPFS, which is the interplanetary file system. So once they're in the system, they're being distributed because it's a distributed file system. There's no current way of going in and removing those. So once they're in, they're in. And so again, that's something to bear in mind. And you can read more about IPFS on their website as you need to. I'm going to add, again, there'll be more functionality that can come to that later. But just to show you how it works, because again, it's at the moment not particularly obvious. You do need to have this toolbar up. If you are on a small mobile device, you can still come to this spatial view, and if you turn your device to landscape, you will see this toolbar, and you can upload media from your phone, which again, if you've got a microcosm where you're just collecting stuff, you might have one that you just keep, and you want to throw stuff into and you organize later, So again, I'm just going to show you how that works. So you click this upload icon, and then you can select an image from your standard image picker, depending on what kind of computer and system you've got. So I can click that and say open. And what that's actually doing is that isn't opening it, it's uploading it to IPFS in the background. And so at this point, if I want to retrieve the last thing I put up there, I need to actually click this little download icon, and that will go and get the last thing we uploaded. So that is something to remember. You can do other things, but if you try and upload again, it will replace. You won't be able to find that thing you uploaded, because you won't be able to find the hash, the unique URL that's been created through IPFS. So what I can do is I can create a new node, and then I can hit the download button here, and what that does is that grabs in the background for me the markdown for that image. So if I now go to here and paste, you can see that it's put in the markdown, and if I go to read mode, you can actually see it's a photo. So it's that image that I uploaded. And again, we can resize these. Obviously in edit mode, you can't see the image because it's using the special URL. But in read mode, and what everyone else would see, would be the image. And again, if we want to, we can make connections between those two. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come out of this and go back in with a different device name, so you can see how all the nodes are seen by anyone else that's connected, because obviously in this instance currently it's just one player. This is designed to be multiplayer, that is definitely the point. I guess while I'm here, just to show you, if I go to mobile, it just lists all the ones that I've been creating. So it's a list mode really, more rather than a mobile mode, but it obviously works well on a mobile phone. You haven't got access to the tool panel. If you do discard any of these, so let's discard the one that says blue is ace, then that will appear in the discarded pile, and we can actually restore those. Again, the styling for this page is way off, anywhere near being complete. Alright, so let's come out of here, and I'm going to join with a different name, And again, that's that's anonymous. So whatever you put in here is not no one else sees. So when I store, and I'm going to join October demo, which is what we called the microcosm before. Click create or rejoin. You can now see that I've rejoined that demo, but you can see that these nodes here, I can move them around, and that would be moving for everyone. I can't edit them because they're not mine. They belong to another device, and so I can just see them, manipulate them, but I can also add emojis. So let's try and find where's a yellow heart emoji. Did I pass all the hearts? There we go. So we can sort of thumbs up these as much as we want. Okay. And obviously I can create my own nodes here. Oh. Okay. So there you go. What you'll notice, I've seen now is that the discarded nodes are still appearing for other users. So that again is a fix that should be coming. And you can see that as this user, I haven't discarded any. Yeah. So this will be fixed really rapidly because I think I've just forgot to put in a specific field. So yeah, there you go. Hopefully that gives you an idea of how it works and a bit of an idea of how you might use it. Again, we found it really useful to gather a bunch of ideas really quickly in the sort of mobile view from 10, 15 students. And then, I've had it on a bigger view where I've zoomed out, started to organize them, or students have started to sort of cluster them into thoughts and ideas. And then obviously at this point, there isn't a way of exporting that data, but you of course can screenshot it or return to the microcosm. Screenshotting is a good idea just because at the moment, if anything does go wrong, the data is, like I said, in an alpha build. So I'm not expecting anything to go wrong, and the data, like I said, is stored initially is always stored on your local device. So there's a copy of it, and then it gets synchronized. So it's the data integrity is high, but this is an alpha build, so bear that in mind. It's a work in progress to show an idea and a concept, and hopefully we can get a few people on board to try it out and to get some more feedback from students and makers on how it does or doesn't help them think about ideas. So there you go. So yeah, do have a play. Like I said, it's designed for multiplayer, so that's really the way that it's supposed to work. You can obviously use it on your own, and you can obviously use it remotely, but it's really a tool to work together on. And if you have to use it remotely, then I would suggest you use video calling alongside this idea generation.